Hi traders, this is Houston Trung from tradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for September the 9th to the 13th, 2019. And welcome to September. So the first week of September trading is now in the books, and it was quite the eventful beginning to September. Now, I can't stress enough the importance of having the right mindset around trading, and that is to try not to get ahead of the price action, right? So we get into a lot of trouble, and I think, when I say we, I speak about myself and other traders that I know, that we get into ourselves a lot of trouble when we begin to try to predict where price is going to go, instead of just responding to how price unfolds. This month, price initially, right from the get-go, sold off. But with the macro news that came out, and with the news that came out of the White House about the planned meetings between China and the US around tariff talks, the markets decided that was a positive event. And so there's really no use trying to predict when you're going to get the next tweet or when you're going to get the next major piece of economic news. That is all guesswork. And unfortunately, if we try to tie ourselves to predictions, then that can lead to judgments, or negative self-judgments, and even negative self-worth if we don't get the calls right. I think the job, and without going too long into things, the job as traders is to respond to price. And so this week, the best way to respond was to see what the market was doing and to basically follow alongside and not to try to get ahead of the markets. So this coming week, without trying to get ahead of it, let's talk about the coming week. We do have a number of macroeconomic events, because there actually is not that much on the earnings calendar. Yes, there are a lot of companies reporting on Thursday, so do check for that, but a fairly slower earnings calendar than previous weeks. But on econ news, things kind of kick off on Wednesday. You want to see that oil number, because oil has been rocking and the volatility has been very, very high. So continue to watch that. There looks like a lot of oil stocks are starting to bottom, so watch for that. On Thursday, there's that CPI and jobless claims number at 8:30, so we want to be watching that. And of course, on Friday, there's retail sales number, and we want to look for any clues there, or traders will be looking for clues there to see if the consumers are slowing down, if that's at all baked into the potential recessionary picture. So that's the coming news for the week. Let's get into the charts now and see where we came from this past week and where we could be going. So as always, let's start off with our friend VXX. So far it's a brand new month, right? And basically right from the get-go, as we'll see with the indices, is that they bought the indices basically right from the get-go. Things it did gap down slightly on the indices, but they bought them right back. So to begin the month, VIX is currently red in the month. So we had that really, big VIX month. Well, big is relative, but at one point it was up over 20-something%. It closed only up about 15 or 14.5%. Now we have an inside month that is red. So that's where we are right now with the first week of trading done. Even though it was a shortened week because of holidays, certainly the VIX lost close to 9%, so 8.5% there for the week. So inside month so far, red week, and basically from the get-go on the charts, as you can see, it's a short holiday week, so we only had 4 trading days, right? So let's jump into the, I'll zoom out a bit here on the 2-day. Let's jump into the daily chart and let's examine what happened. So here on Friday, that was last week's close, outside bar. The question was, what were they going to do with that particular piece of action? So they gapped up, right? So on Tuesday this week, they gapped up the VIX. That means the indices sold off. Then the next day it went outside up and then down, right? So here is your bearish kicking pattern. It's a bearish kicking pattern because price opens below the prior day's lows. And then they basically sold it off all day to the tune of -6+% to the downside. So effectively, once they opened it here, right, it trapped all these longs who are looking for a continued push to the upside. What do we know about this momentum pattern? And it goes outside bar and up. The momentum dissipates as soon as a prior low gets taken out. That low got taken out this day in a big way because you had that bearish kicking pattern, trapping all those shorts. Now look at this price action here. here, it managed to climb all the way back up at one point during the day, in the beginning of the day. It managed, for the first few minutes of the day, it managed to come back up and touch the prior day's lows, establishing a great area here to get short. Because here, it's already a failed momentum pattern to the upside. It was a very, very good opportunity here to get short on the VIX or long on this indices at that retest. It was a very good tight level to try to get short or long, depending on, you're trying to use the VIX or trying to go long indices. Same picture here, right? Just to show you the outside. If you haven't been watching these videos long enough, you know the pattern by now. Outside and up, momentum's going up until a low gets taken out there. That low got taken out here. Also a kicking pattern, right? So they trapped all the longs who may have bought VIX calls or had gotten long VIX up here. It drops down and gaps down 4%, trapping anyone who got in here. Okay, so did the exact same thing here again, kicking pattern to the downside, and then on Thursday, Friday, just squeezing people down. So if you did not cover this day on Tuesday, man, you're in a world of pain because it gapped again against you to the tune of minus 3.7%. And then the gaps again against you, the tune of minus, I don't know, the gaps are not that big, but the gaps down and then goes down minus 3% for the rest of the day. So the sellers are definitely in control now as it pertains to the VIX. So if you zoom in real quick to let's say the 60-minute chart, actually we'll zoom down even lower than that. So we know that level now, right? That low was 27.52. So if we zoom in here now, let's just look at the 60-minute first on Tuesday, right there. Okay, so here on Tuesday, it gaps down, trapping everyone who got long up here this is Wednesday. On Tuesday, anyone who got long up here was thinking, okay, we're going to get, more move to the upside. It gaps down. So anyone here is immediately, if you don't stop yourself out, you're underwater on your trade. Okay, it does come back up here and touch that prior day's low right there in the first hour of the day. Zoom in. See the first hour of the day right there. So there's your 9:30, then there's your 10, boom, touches up there. Let's go on one more time frame down, 15-minute chart. And so there it is. Okay, so bam, bam, goes inside bar reversal. Oh, not reversible, goes inside bar and then down. So there it touches that at 10 o'clock. That was the high of the day, and then you know the rest of the picture. It's been selling off ever since then. So back to our daily chart now. What do we see here? Well, we're coming back into this prior level of support. So if you look at the weekly area here, I'll just zoom into that. We've had this trend line drawn for a long time now. I mean, ever since we created this thing, it's creating this very, very large broadening formation. And prior to this, so back in so here we had created some. Let's go down here. Yeah. So here we had come back down and created some lower lows, but it popped back up again. Now we're back to this lower trend line level and see if we break back below once again. The question is, how low can the VIX go before it pops back up into the range again? Because it hasn't done a very good job for a long time. You can see here, this is Jan 2018, staying above this area for very long, right? You've had 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 4.5 weeks where it stayed below that area, but pops back up again. You can see that goes way back to 2017. So can it stay below there again, or are we operating in a higher volatility environment? Because right now VIX does not like trading below that 24 area for very long. All right, so here's 24 all the way now 21. So how long can it stay below there? Right now we're trading at closes at 24.72. So do we see elevated levels of volatility? And my guess is yes. I'm because all it takes is again one single tweet or one single news event to change all this, and I think the days of really, really low volatility are sort of behind us. Those are the circa 2017 days. So now I would not be surprised to see VIX pop back up again, especially since September is historically volatile or historically negative for the markets. So we'll wait and see. Again, just following price. It's okay to have an opinion, but again, letting price dictate our bias. Let's go on to the SPY now, because it's the mirror opposite, right? So SPY inside month green. Okay, week is here, right? So was it last week? We've been watching this. We were waiting for this range to break, right? It was inside week, and then last week it finally broke it. Even though it closed back in the range, and this week it opened up firmly inside the range. We were watching to see, can it stay? Can it break back outside of this range and stay outside of it? This week we finally did, and look, we're not far now from those all-time highs. Remember how bad things looked in the month of August, right? When we were trading down at these levels here. Well, it doesn't look so bad anymore now, right? Because look, if I draw in, how far are we exactly from those all-time highs? So let's draw in from where we closed on Friday to these all-time highs. Look, 1.4% away from all-time highs. All it takes is one really, really good day, right, for that to happen. But again, that's not saying we're going to go all-time highs and stay there. It could be a tradable environment where we go highs and come back in again. But again, that's how close we are to those all-time highs and how much we've bounced from the bottoms of August or late July. Okay, so now we have that picture in focus. Let's look at the daily chart and see how that played out on the SPY. Pretty much the exact same thing we saw on the VIX, but the mirror opposite. So here's your Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday, it gaps down, right? Gaps down, and this was basically a bearish kicking pattern on Tuesday, because anyone who got long up here going into this week, they got trapped down here, and they may have, you know, stopped out, right? Because imagine if you buy a bunch of calls or a bunch of SPY or futures or whatever on Friday afternoon or this Friday session, because things are kind of moving up, you took out that pivot high. Don't forget, it's also broke the prior inside week high. So this is what's actually happening, you know, with the market participants. If you bought this and you're playing the inside bar break to the upside, thinking you finally broke out of that range, come Monday we had that, you know, that big gap down. You're trapped down here, right? Most of the day it was sold lower. You may have covered when it went down to here because it looked like it was going to come back down to this range. It looked like at least it was going to come and fill this gap here, right? It came very close. That gap did not get filled. But when you're trading down here, I think a lot of traders are like, if you were long, you're like, yeah, I should probably cover a bit or cover it all in case it does come down here. I'm going to face a, you know, a large loss. So folks who covered their shorts, their longs down here, what happened? If you covered your longs and got short there, look what happened the next day. It gaps up, creating a bullish kicking pattern, right? So there's your bullish kicking pattern, trapping the shorts, and anyone who wants to get long now, you have to get back into the trade, right? Because if you stop yourself down here, you're like, oh man, I can't believe it's going to come back up again. You got to get back into that trade. But look at the importance here. This is the significance. Right there, that purple line and that orange line. That's your new weekly open and monthly open. Price closed right above that. So basically you had a green week from the get-go and a green month, and price could not close or stay below that. So the buyers were in control based just on that monthly and weekly chart, because you had a green week and a green month. So at that point, you know, buyers step in, and now you get the gap and go scenario, right? Gapping, trapping anyone who's short, and not letting people get into the trade that they want to get into if they want to get long, because it's gapping up, right? Gapping up and then pulling back intraday just to end strong again. And look what happens on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 3 basically higher days. You know, Friday was an inside day because we had a big range here, and it stayed inside day. But the big thing now is that you're back above all 3 major time frames. The weekly, monthly, and there that blue line is your quarterly open. So now you're trading full time frame alignment to the upside. That 200-day moving average down here, that black line, held this entire sequence, and now you've broken outside of this big range. Okay, so that was range trading, was tight stuff, right? Now you've broken out of it. Now does it come back in again and do a retest? That's possible, right? Just to shake people out some more. That's very much a possibility. But again, the monthly open is way down here. In order for the month to turn red, price has to come back into the range and get back below here. Okay, that's what you want to be watching for. If it's going to do a strong retest, how far of a retest does it come back in? Does it just go back to the breakout level, or does it come back here and try to test that monthly open? Okay, but for now, full time frame alignment to the upside, bias needs to be up. Price is telling us that. Onwards to Qs, and all the indices pretty much painted the same picture this week. Qs inside month so far, green. Look at Qs on the weekly. Okay, this is what we've been waiting for. Inside, and I can move this level down here now. Inside, I'll move this bar there. And this week we finally got that break and close above that prior range. So inside, and then bam, that's a breakup to the upside. And it did not pull it back through yet. Okay, so just like the SPY, now trading full time frame alignment to the upside. Look at the daily picture here. It's even cleaner. Trading above that quarterly line. So exact same picture as the Qs, right? Gaps down, on Tuesday, outside bar and down, right? So that looked very negative. But guess what happens the next day? Gaps up, a bullish kicking pattern, right? So that means you're opening above the prior day's range, trapping any shorts, because this looked like a momentum move to the downside. What do you know about that momentum move? As soon as you take out that high, which happened when it gapped up, that momentum move has been extinguished. And now we're going after that pivot at the very least, and then that pivot. As soon as you go after this is the neat thing, right? As soon as you take out that pivot, that will create a break out of that prior inside bar week. And you got that here on Thursday. It gaps up, breaking that inside bar, the prior inside bar's range. And and if you put your stops up there, you got jumped over you, right? So now you got to chase and get out. So this day was basically a day where, right from in the morning session, anyways, it was a very active morning session. You had they were running stops. So that's what happened. Stops got run, and now it looks very, very likely that we're gonna at least take out these pivot highs here. So how far are we from those all-time highs on the Qs based upon when we closed on Friday? From there to there, 1.83%. All right, so not that far away. Exactly the same pattern on the Qs. Okay, Russell. The other thing with the Russell, remember, Russell has been the weakest of all the indices. This week, a lot is the same, but a little bit different. So number one, inside month still green. Okay, here on the weekly, this is the significant thing. Is that it did inside bar reversal. So inside bar and down, right? So that's how it ended August. Looked bad for a while till they close back in the range again. And as I said in last week's video, if they can close above and take out that prior week's high, the level is 149.97. That creates the inside bar reversal, and they did that this week. And they took out that pivot high. That was kind of the short-term highs. They took out that high as well. 151.79, 151.91. So they took out these stops that are there as well. That's exactly what we wanted to see. Now the next big pivot's that one there. The only issue with Russell being the weakest of the indices is that it did not close above the prior week's highs. It closed at 149.90. Right, so we're back in the range again. We need to see if Russell actually shows any more strength, because that is a lagging index. So the other notable difference on the Russell is that we did not get that bullish kicking pattern on Wednesday. So here on Wednesday, it gapped up, but not above the prior day's range. So out of all the indices, it was the weakest, right? So of all the indices, it gapped up, but it wasn't bullish enough to actually close above or open above the prior day's range, which is not that big of a deal, because the next day you had that big gap up, which did clear that prior inside bar, or that prior week's high. But on Friday, it did pull back into the end of the close, and you have a inside bar now. So this is not the end of the world. You're back inside that breakout level, but bar step up and take out this high here. That could be an inside bar break to the upside. Okay, that's what you want to be looking out for as we get into the coming week. So right now, the momentum is sort of to the selling side, because as I said already, in the Friday session in the afternoon, they were able to kind of close it into near the lows. So you had an outside bar and down on the 4-hour chart. But now you're going right into the prior breakout highs. Now if the buyers step up and take out that prior high, it's back off to the races again, right? So that's what you want to be watching for. Okay, Dow has been looking strong. So if you recall, Dow, the prior week, basically all 30 Dow components ended the week green. So that was a very good sort of canary in the coal mine about what could be possible further Dow strength. So the month right now, still green, inside bar. Week, again, the prior week broke out of this outside-inside pattern. So we've been looking at for a while now, right? We saw that outside-inside pattern. It broke it out last week. It closed above that breakout level, and this week was just continuation, right? So now they're running stops. So let's do the same exercise again. How far is Dow from all-time highs? Let's grab it from where it closed this week. Oops, wrong. Close that there. Oh, let's close that down. So let's grab our measurement tool. Okay. And from where we closed on Friday to all-time highs, 2.11%. Okay, so out of it's basically basically out of the SPYs, Qs, and Dow. The Dow is third away from all-time highs. Okay. So in terms of the daily price action, just like the SPY, gaps down on Tuesday. That's basically a bearish kicking pattern. Then on Wednesday, bullish kicking pattern, and then it's just continuation from here, right? So 3 positive days. Green, 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 cracking the quarterly open, but could not close above there for the Dow. Very, very close. This pivot is certainly in play right now, right there. Then that one as we get into the next week. Okay, so more bullish momentum here on the Dow because it went outside bar and up. So you want to see how it continues the next 4 to 8 hours. So this is the hard thing of navigating this environment, right? So at this point, the markets have been rewarding overnight risk. The way they're rewarding it is through gaps, right? So this is the tricky thing with trading equities, is that sometimes the gaps work in your favor and sometimes they don't, right? So that's what you need to be, this is the environment we're in right now, is that sometimes the gaps are based upon overnight news is what's causing these ranges to get broken. And so it's during the day you're seeing a lot of positioning as people need to get in and out of trades that have now either gone out of their favor or they want to get into their favor. Okay, let's take a look at the TSX, because the TSX has also been making a nice comeback, probably on the back of oil, because oil's had a really good start. So here on the month, so if you take a look at the monthly chart, last month we had a very big hammer put in there, and so kind of momentum hammer, because the prior month, it was sort of a shooting star. Very small, kind of if you squint, you could call it a shooting star. At the end of the day, what matters is that the sellers are probably more in control that month of July, and then they were able to push it down significantly in the month of August, but the buyers stepped up here, creating momentum near the end of the month. Now it's continued in September by price taking out the prior month's highs. So on the TSX, on the weekly pattern, it all started from the mid-August, right? So we had that inside bar break to the upside, and we're just going up and up now. So it's a continuation of this inside bar break to the upside. The buyers are in control. Are in control. Full time from alignment to the upside, right? Trading above monthly, weekly, and quarterly open, right? So we're really not far away from those all-time highs now, as it pertains to the TSX. We're getting very close. So this really tight stuff here, the TSX, is basically this, right? So the TSX is basically consolidating. This is the 3-month chart, right near all-time highs. So if we do the same exercise here for the TSX, where we close it off on Friday to the all-time highs put in the prior quarter, we're only 0.83% away from those all-time highs. So TSX hanging in very strong, and the buyers are clearly in control. You're not. Let's go split this out here. Okay, let me just maximize that. Let's get rid of this little. Okay, it was the sellers have not been able to change this quarter from an inside quarter to a negative quarter. So right now it looks like with less than a month left of trading, 3 weeks left of trading, we're probably going to stay inside quarter or break to the upside. Nothing's impossible, but it would take the break and go all the way back down to the range again, which is possible, for this thing to turn red. For this thing, you really want to, if you want to see the TSX turn negative and for the bias to really change, you want to see the quarterly price get back below the quarterly open, and for this low to get taken out, for the prior lows to get taken out. That's when you really want to get negative TSX, like we had here at the end in Q4 of 2018, when that low got taken out, that prior quarter's low, it created that scenario, that possible scenario here. We had close to an 11% drop, right? So you're not going to get a really huge drop on TSX until a prior low gets taken out. So this quarter here, you're still kind of far away from that low with 3 weeks left, but that's what would have to happen in order for things to really break down. Right now, I'm not seeing it, but anything's possible. But again, just watch your levels. So TSX looking strong, right? Consolidated on Friday, as did all the rest of the indices, but overall TSX hanging in there and did the same bullish kicking pattern that we saw with the U.S. equities, U.S. indices. Here, there's even more momentum here on the TSX, outside bar and up. So now, if you want to continue to see momentum, right, you're just gonna watch this pattern. Does it keep going up? You get higher highs, or does low get taken out? Then you might have to pull back or consolidate. There's your all-time highs right there, so not far away. Let's talk about emerging markets, because that's something that's also bounced. As the China talks have kind of continued, and there hasn't been a new breakdown in that progress. then Asian markets have recovered somewhat, especially now with the this past week. I think what was the big news event was, of course, the news that came out of Hong Kong, and perhaps them not going forward with the extradition news or extradition laws. So we have now is still a green month for EM, but strong green month so far. Weekly pattern, there it is. It bounced off these lows here, and we had basically a down up reversal. So this low here that got set in August, once this high got taken out, that high, there's your reversal pattern, and it's been 2 green weeks ever since then. So climbing back up through the range again, and on the emerging markets index, you had the exact same bullish kicking pattern, right? So on the daily, on Tuesday, there's that big gap, right? So actually this is not really quite a bullish kicking because it wasn't a red bar here, but it was a huge gap up here, a 1.68% gap, and then who stayed short down here, right? Their stop, if they put their stop here or there, it got jumped over and it cleared that range, right? You can just see the range right there, cleared above it, and just been subsequently just traded higher. All right, let's look at TLT. TLD has now slowed down. So the TLT, still had a huge month in August, excuse me. But now to start the month, you're inside month so far. Red. It has pulled back 1%. So not a huge pullback, but right now people have been so used to TLT going up that this is the first little pullback we've had. So on the weekly, this is what I was saying last week, right? That you needed to watch out for was you wanted to see if a prior week's low could get taken out, and that's what happened this past week. So this low got taken out there this past week and created an inside bar reversal, so inside bar up, and now will not be surprised if it can close back or stay back below this low here, prior week's low, that we get back into this level here. So this taking out this pivot's low. Okay, on the daily chart, I'll actually start with the 2-day. Basically, why that kind of fell apart was this. So here's your 2 outside bars, outside on the 2-day, outside bar and up. There's a momentum move. This bar here took out that prior bar's low, so momentum was extinguished here. And then we chopped around a bit, and finally, on the last 2 trading days of the week, it did break down and break the prior week's lows, but pop back up again to end the week. Okay, on the daily chart, that's what where you kind of saw the last. It was a Thursday. It gapped down, creating that inside bar reversal. But on Friday, excuse me, it came back up again. But if this Friday's lows get taken out, there's no reason why we couldn't believe this thing to come back into the range again to take out. Again, we're looking for this low to get taken out here. So let me just clear some of these levels. So I want to delete this level here. And we're looking for this pivot low at the very least to get taken out. I'm going to delete this line here. We don't need that. At the very least, we're looking for this low to get taken out right there. And then we'll see how much momentum and strength the sellers have. So if they break below Friday's lows on Monday, they take 143.43. Okay. On the shorter term frame chart, you have an inside bar up scenario. This is going to run out of momentum soon at some point. If it does, it's going to come back through the range again. Okay. If it takes out a prior low, it's going to come back through the range. Let's talk about gold, because gold had the same selling scenario as TLT, as bonds, as people moved away from that flight to safety, with the news that China perhaps is has resolved some of those things or Asia's having some resolution around tariffs and the extradition in laws in Hong Kong. So right now, red month on gold, XAU USD. I think gold here is that it's still on the quarterly chart. It's a very, very strong move still. You're still up 7% or close to 7% on the quarter, outside bar and up. Okay, so still very strong. It's a pullback now from some of those gains, but it's, you're still inside the prior month's range. You did get a higher high here now, so if they really push it, they could try to take it through all the way through the side. So you want to watch for that, because there's momentum right now. There could be momentum right now based upon how we start the next week. Because next week, right there's your inside bar reversal. Just we had in TLT. So going inside bar and up. This bar here this week, we actually had a higher high. So they actually had a slightly higher high. So here the high was 1555.10, and this was 1556.88. So slight higher high, and then it came right back through the range. As soon as it comes back through the range, there's a possibility it can come out the other side. That's what happened. It came out the other side, and now that pivot low is in play. The prior week's pivot low, just like we saw in TLT. So with XEU USD, here's how it looks like on the 2-day chart. There's your prior week's low. Now we have here is an outside inside, and it popped up this week, right? So we did have that higher high, but as I mentioned, it came back through the range again, and now it's outside bar and down. Momentum to the downside. So now you want to see this thing come down, or is it pop back up, taking out the prior high, extinguishing that momentum. But if it keeps going down, momentum stays to the downside until we get a higher high. But this is, a very nice pattern in the sense that it creates this sort of broadening formation here. The question here now is how far does it go to create that broadening formation? Does it go all the way down here again and pop back up? We need to wait and see. But that's the issue when you go right into highs. This is what you always want to be watching out for, is so this risk of running out of buyers to support the move. It's people know there's stops up here, so you get that higher high right there. This is higher than that high there. It brings in more buyers and stops out anyone up here who had put their stops up there. When there are no more buyers, what happens is it just runs out of momentum and it comes back through the range again. So to just sort of explore that further, because I think just seeing the price patterns unfold over and over again will help you see this better in real time, is you can zoom in on a lower time frame, let's say the 60-minute. You can get right to that price action we talked about right there. So there is that move to the higher high, so that's the top of that broadening formation, right? So that high there took out that prior high there, and then it consolidates, right? Goes 2 hours inside bar, and that means there was a stalemate there. And unfortunately, there were no more, or depending, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which side you're on, there were no more buyers in here, and then basically broke down. Okay, so it basically broke down and comes back into the range again. So even on a lower time frame, you can look at something like this. You can say 30 minutes, and you'll see this. So same sequence here. Those two inside bars that we saw in the hourly is this sequence here. But on this sequence, what you see here actually is inside bar and up, failed breakout because it goes inside bar here and breaks down. So the sellers, or the buyers, they could not step up anymore. And you had, once this low got taken out, that low got taken out and they switched things over, right? So it totally fell apart after that inside bar reversal to the downside. So very nice price action there on XEU USD. Let's talk about digital gold, because that has finally started, the volatility has finally bumped up. So let's take a look at the 2-day chart first. So we'll head over to Bitcoin, which is what I call digital gold. So Bitcoin on Bitfinex, and so on the biggest time frame, on the quarterly chart, it's still inside quarter, right? I've been saying this for 2 quarters now. It feels like, is how are you gonna get outside of this quarter, right? As we even got into this quarter, I said, how do you get outside of that quarter? This, when I said this, back in Q2, I'm like, how are you going to get outside this quarter in Q3? So now we have 3 weeks left. In Q3, can we break outside of the prior quarter's range? Again, we had a 160% move here in Q2. Right now, it's basically down 3% for the quarter, so it's really gone nowhere. That's what you call inside bar trading. On the monthly chart, it's inside, right? So this is why it's so tight, and this is why I like not to trade a lot right now cryptos, because I don't want it to be getting chopped up in this stuff, because when it breaks outside the range, then it's going to be way more opportunities. Right now, you have to be very, very fast, because you can expect to have very sharp reversals when you're trading those really tight ranges. So the ranges are getting tighter, and tighter. That's what it's showing you on the chart. So eventually, it's going to pop out. And we kind of got that pop out this past week. If you recall, I talked about this last week. I said, okay, there's a possibility that Bitcoin, and I believe the overall crypto market can do an inside bar reversal if we can break above the prior week's highs. And we got that this week. We haven't stayed above there yet. I'm actually long Bitcoin right now with a tight stop, because we did take out the weekly high there. I will add again if we can start to consolidate and break above that weekly high, the prior week's highs. But right now we popped up and came back into the range. Ultimately, that's at least one pivot I expect to get taken out, 10,993, and it came really close on Friday. It hit 10,933, so $60 or dollars away from taking out that pivot high there. So on Friday, it looked like we were going to get that scenario where things were going to break up and take out that pivot high, and I'll show you the trade that I took. But here on the daily chart, so there, this blue line here marked in blue, that's the weekly high. On Friday, Thursday, we had an inside bar, and on Friday, it broke above the inside bar, so it was an inside bar break, and it did take the quarterly open, so it did break above. There's that blue line. As I was in this long trade, and I'll show you how I got into the trade. I didn't take the inside bar break on the daily, but how it did when it did get up here, I was definitely suspect as you started to see some selling come in at the quarterly open. It popped up briefly, got as high as 10,933, as I mentioned already, and then they flushed it. So there was some news, whether it was the Fed speak or the backed futures exchange. There's a lot of speculation on what caused that big sell-off. But at one point, the thing was up 3%, but then it ended up being down 3%. So it was a big 6% intraday range, and that's the kind of choppy reversals you can expect when you have these kind of inside situations. So now you have inside, outside, inside. Very, very powerful pattern potentially here. And you do want to be seeing how it breaks out of this. If it does close today as inside, outside, inside, you want to see how this pattern resolves itself. Now, the new week doesn't start until Monday. So you're going to want to see how this new week begins and which way this thing breaks, because that will be significant. If it can stay above that quarterly open, you're going to be there. The bulls are going to be back in control again. But again, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Could we just we consolidate even further? Now, how I took that trade on the on that level, remember we have that inside bar on the daily chart, right? The inside bar, I'll just put it right here. Let's do it another different color. I'll put this color at 10,663. Let's put this in another color here. Let's do that in green. Okay, and that should tell us it's 10,663. Okay, so there it is. I took this one on the 8-hour chart. That's the really nice thing about trading cryptos, is that there are no gaps for the most part because it trades 24/7. There are gaps when there are liquidity issues, but there are no gaps, because it trades 24 hours a day. So right there, outside. So here's the thing: inside, outside, inside. Again, same pattern that's happening now on the daily pattern, and I took that break on the 8-hour chart, right there, because the understanding is if this works, right? If this works, it's gonna basically take out that pivot high, which will basically break the inside day, right? So this will break the inside day and potentially break that prior week's highs, creating the inside bar reversal. And it worked very nicely for basically 16 hours until we had that huge selling come in. That bar there is down -5 and 0.3%. That basically, came right back to the range again. I moved my stop to par, so basically this trade was basically a wash for me. So that that's basically a part out trade for Bitcoin. But I'm getting ready to enter back in again, and again I'm still long on that weekly signal, waiting to add once again if we can get back up here and look to break that prior week's high once again. Okay, so that's the Bitcoin trade. Let's take a look at Total, TOTAL, which is the index that calculates the overall crypto market cap, but very, very similar looking chart. Let's give it a second here. Okay, so on the monthly, let's go start big. Let's go quarterly chart, inside quarter still, just like the Bitcoin chart. Monthly, inside bar, possible inside bar reversal right now. Still inside month, 3 weeks left, but right now, how do you outside the prior month's range? Maybe you don't, maybe you do. We'll wait and see. It would be an inside bar reversal if you can break above that bar's high. Still very far away from that right now. Okay, on the weekly, you're getting very, very close to creating that inside bar reversal. So you need to take out this high here. Did I draw it in properly? Yeah, that high there. And then you get that inside bar reversal. Then that pivot comes into play. On the daily, there you go. You're setting up with the same pattern. Inside, outside, inside on the daily. How does that resolve? The issue here is you also have the same pattern sort of forming out here on the 2-day. Is going inside, outside. What if it goes inside again? That would be an extra 2 days, right? So you need to see how that plays across multiple time frames and prepare for those different possibilities. Okay. So to wrap things up, I'm going to breeze through a number of charts now that we've entered into the new month, and we have 1 week of trading down. I'm going to just kind of fast fire through a bunch of quick charts to give you some possible trading opportunities. So let's focus first on the weekly chart. Here's a few interesting charts to look at. Light. So light here, outside bar and down, broke above the prior week's highs. Now, if it can stay above there, I'm gonna go back to our blue. So if we can stay above there and break above those quarterly highs on quarterly opens, we can get back up to that range again. So outside down and back up. Okay, Guild. So healthcare looking strong. Guild may be finally doing a bit of a bottom here, as it's been kind of doing some range trading for a long time. Look at that monthly chart. It's been range trading for a long time now here. The difference this time around is that this is a possible inside buy reversal down here if you can break above August highs on the monthly chart. That might begin to happen on the weekly chart here, because we have an inside bar reversal now off of these lows. Okay, so off these lows, you have an inside bar that goes down, inside bar, and now I'm going to move this pivot level there. Took out that pivot high, and now you're going back up, momentum possibly to the upside. That pivot high would be the target, which would break the inside the prior month's highs. That would trigger that monthly condition, right? That scenario. Now let's take a look at Google. Google finally breaking out of some consolidation as well, not far from those all-time highs. There's Google. Outside, inside, here, exact same Bitcoin and crypto setup, right? Inside, outside, inside, pop, right? Going after that pivot, then that pivot. Snap, I took this one this past Friday. Very, very nice pattern. Inside bar reversal right there, inside bar down, and there's that pop above for a big 5% gain this week. All happened basically on Friday. So there on Friday, on the daily chart, you can see it. There's the inside bar break right there. Okay, so you had that inside bar break to the upside. If this trade works, right, guess where they're going to go after? They're going to go after that pivot and that pivot, which will trigger the prior week's highs, creating that inside bar reversal. So Snap now with some potential to go back higher. Okay, let's talk about marijuana stocks, because man, I've been talking about that going outside bar down and the momentum to the downside, but I've been alluding to it, right? I've been alluding to the fact that you just want to wait and see and wait for that momentum to subside. So Tilray was the one I think I was showing past weeks, but here's the situation: outside bar and down, and I was saying you just want to wait and see for a high to get taken out. This is what I alluded to last week in the video. You want to wait for the high to get taken out, and boy, do we ever get that this week. This high got taken out on Tuesday's trading, right there on Tuesday, right? So Tuesday you had that, that lower low, and then it created a higher high, creating the outside bar, stopping out everyone who got short last week, right? So everyone who got short the prior week, right? They all got stopped out if they took their stops. If they didn't, they're underwater right now. But now it's momentum to the upside. Look, outside bar up, up, up. You just need to wait, and you just need to watch out if a prior low gets taken out and back into the range again. What that looked like on the on marijuana, like on the marijuana ETF is on MJ is this. On the 2-day chart, it does a really good picture showing that. Was this here? MJ on the 2-day. There, outside bar down. So these are 2-day bars. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 sessions where you had lower lows. Okay, then you had an inside bar finally at the last few days of August. Here, your first trading week of September, outside bar, stop them all out, right? So that triggers it to the upside, inside, outside, and up, going back up to the range. That's pivot there is very, very likely for it to go after. Very, very nice trading opportunity was CGC. Again, now that you see the pattern, you're going to see them everywhere. Just, get used to seeing them. On the weekly, just like Tilray, right? Outside bar down, down. As soon as the high gets taken out, what do you know now? We've talked about this whole video. Waiting for that prior pivot high to get taken out. Once that pivot high got taken out, when did it happen? It happened on Tuesday, right? So it happened on Tuesday. So I'll bring up the daily chart there. Okay. Actually, did it happen on Tuesday? It's no. In this case, it happened. Let's see, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Happened on Thursday for CGC. Did not happen on Tuesday. So CGC was a bit of a laggard. But look what happens when it did happen, right? So you know that level, 25.47 will take out the prior week's highs, right? 25.47. That's what we were waiting for, and you knew the marijuana stocks were starting to bottom. So look how nicely that's set up on the intraday chart. So on the 60-minute chart. Right there. This is the 5th, so that was basically on Wednesday, right? Wednesday, right in the first trading hour of the day, it cracks the prior week's highs, right? So that creates that, extinguishes the momentum on the weekly chart. Now, what do you have? 2 inside bars. So you have plenty of time to get in this trade, because then it goes inside bar up and it's gone, right? So this trade, even on the hourly chart, it is gone. So, you know, that was a very, very nice setup on CGC right off of that level that we've been talking about for a while now. Okay, so that's the names on the weekly charts. Let's take a look at a few monthly charts now, and then we'll wrap things up because we have the new month. So a few new names to be watching for this month. CGNX, I believe, is one of them. Cogenex. Outside, inside, it up. Again, possibly going after that range right there for Cognex. Electronic Arts, excuse me, doing a similar pattern. Outside, inside, up. Looking to go after that pivot there. If we can break above that blue line, that will flip the time frames to the upside. SU, so oil names starting to looks like they could be bottoming here, and here's a potential outside bar and down. Ran out momentum right there when it came back through the range. Can it come up here and take out that pivot? Watch for that. As long as it stays above here, the buyers are in control. And the last thing I want to go through is XLU. XLU sort of running out of steam here. So here, look, it goes outside bar and it goes up again. But now it popped above this prior trend line high, that prior trend line, and now it's coming back into the range. Here's the issue with XLU. And this is also, it portends to TLT and the rest of the flight to safety group, is that now do people step up and defend it? Because XLU on the weekly chart, you have a huge shooting star here. So now you break below there, that will turn the month red, right? So I'll put the month red and potentially bring this thing back into the range again, coming out through the other side. This here, there's your monthly open on the daily chart. That's what you want to be watching for here, is this sequence here. Do they defend the monthly open? And there's your weekly low. So the sellers keep going, or do they push it, or do buyers step up and try to defend that monthly open? Right now, it's meant with the downside. Okay, so outside bar down, and you watch for that momentum to see if they can take out those prior pivots, your monthly open and that weekly low. All right, well, that's a wrap for this week's video. As always, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section or send me an email. If you have any stocks you'd like me to include in the analysis, drop me a line. And as always, if you know of any traders who could benefit from this work, please do share our videos. It helps us grow our community. At the same time, give this video a big thumbs up if you appreciate the work. Once again, I want to wish you a good trading week and happy trading. All the best.